Well, greetings, everybody, and welcome back to the new and renewed Duerrisms podcast brought to you by the fine folks at Advanced Physical Therapy. We are excited to be back on the big comfy couch and here with our guy, Matt Schuckman, who is the sports czar of Muddy River Sports. And before we get into that...
Hold on. You're the czar. Okay. Let's be honest. Let's get it right. You're the czar when it comes to that, because that's your name now.
We got to come up with something for you then.
No, I'm good.
Okay. But the man who is responsible for the wonderful e-magazine that is Friday Night Lights, which I know was a labor of love for you.
Yes.
Now that it's done, that you can take a step away from it, do you feel good about the whole endeavor? Because I know you poured a lot of work into it.
And as you and I talked throughout the process, there were some technical snafus, some difficulties, lost some photos, that my SD card fried. So I didn't get everything exactly the way I wanted it. But I think for the first endeavor, I think it gets the whole area covered. The schedules are in there. You got updates where you can find these teams on the airways, whether it's a live stream or a radio broadcast or whatever. So fans can dig into it and get what they want out of it. We got a lot of pictures. We ended up with a lot of pictures from our area teams. So yes, are there things I would like to do better next year? Sure. But I think for the first endeavor, it turned out great. I think people are going to enjoy it. Really happy, and I'm ready for Friday night.
I didn't get a chance to parse it until the wee hours of late last night, so I was prying my eyes open, but from what I saw, looked really good. Great work for you. And we're going to talk some football on Friday night, but as is our tradition, we're going to start without football. And I'm going to put you in the position, Matt Schuckman.
All right, let's do it.
I am going to make you a Hollywood movie mogul. You have your own studio. You have your own unlimited budget. What movie character from your lifetime are you bringing back for a down-the-road sequel who you want to know what the end game was?
Well, I've got two.
Okay.
I've got two that I want to, and one would be if I'm remaking and bringing back a character.
Okay.
It would be from The Natural.
Okay.
It would be Roy Hobbs and his son. Because you know how that ends with him playing catch in the cornfield with his son? Not cornfield, but in the field with his son. Okay. Does the son become a great baseball player? There's The Natural too, you know. There's the follow-up. And maybe Roy Hobbs coached him along the way and brought him along, and then you get, you know.
Best baseball movie, probably not my favorite baseball movie, but certainly the best of all baseball movies.
In my opinion, yes.
I would agree with you.
I know a lot of people would say Field of Dreams, but I go The Natural.
I go The Natural as well.
And I love a lot of baseball movies, you know that.
Well, and I have a baseball movie that's kind of not in the mainstream that I always loved, which was A Talent for the Game.
Yeah.
Which was Edward James Olmos as a scout, which was I always thought was a really fun baseball movie.
It was.
What was your other choice studio-wise?
My other choice would be, if I'm the media mogul, I have my own studio.
You got it.
I'm remaking The Sandlot, but I'm playing Hamilton Porter.
Perfect. That is perfection.
Or it's, because you know he goes on to become the great Gambino.
Yes,
so maybe Sandlot 2, instead of the crappy Sandlot 2 that they gave us, should have been the wrestling career of the great Gambino.
I love it. That is well done, sir. All right, I'm going to throw you one.
Okay, what would be yours?
I'm going to throw you one that I think you're going to like.
Okay.
Because we've seen that Matt Damon is willing to do just about anything, from his cameos in the Thor movies and everything else. We need to catch back up with Mike McD from Rounders and see, is he an inveterate gambler? Did he win the World Series of Poker? Is Lester still alive? Does Worm come back into the picture in some way?
I love the way you're thinking.
I mean, I think that would be a fun revisit.
I think that would be great. Now you got me wanting to watch Rounders.
Yes, and we will probably have to do that. Well, you want a little charity, Lester? Is that what you want?
I'm all in.
What a great, nicely done. All right, let's talk some football because I have some week one queries that I want to throw your way.
Let's get it.
First one, I am working under the premise, and it may be errant because I've been wrong before. Quincy High School, Quincy Notre Dame.
Yes.
Will it be a largely defensive affair this time around, do you think, because of what returns on both of those defenses, or am I overreading that?
I think you're overreading it.
Okay.
And for this reason, I think Jackson Stratton as the quarterback at Quincy Notre Dame is going to be able to engineer a running game that's going to work well. I don't think we're going to see Notre Dame throw the ball a ton. We'll see them throw it some, but they're not going to come out and light it up all over the field. Quincy High is going to throw the ball a lot more, and their speed on the edge tells me that they're going to be able to score. So I know you in Duerrisms predicted, 14-13?
14-12, I think, is how I had it go down, yes.
I think we're looking at more of something in the 20s.
Okay.
28-24, 28-22, somewhere in that range maybe.
I know you were the prime proponent before anybody got the hype on Ty Douglas, Max Wires, Chris Flax. Do you think Quincy High School is going to be able to take away that run game in the box from Q&D?
To a degree.
Okay.
I still think, because I like Q&D's line. I know people say some of it's undersized.
A little
bit. But with Ben Schwartz at center, Wilson Henning, Garrett Flessner, Jackson Meyer, I think they're going to move some people.
Okay.
The key is, can they get to that second level and not let those Quincy High linebackers make plays? Is somebody going to get on Ty Douglas and keep him from making plays?
And you think the key on the back end for Q&D is controlling those receivers?
Yes.
Okay.
Because much like Quincy High, Notre Dame's linebackers are good.
Yes.
So they're going to be able to do some things in a similar vein of taking away some running opportunities. But do the cornerbacks and the safeties have the speed to not let the Quincy High receivers get behind them? Or can they play catch up if they do? Because fact of the matter is, Quincy High's got the best gunslinger in the area.
Yeah, I wanted to catch people up on that because you and I did a podcast last week, technical difficulties, just like your SD
We're
card.
not blaming anyone. Certainly nobody named Lily.
Blamed, yes.
Yep.
Lily is free of blame. However, you did right here on this couch say last week that Braden Little was the deal, and you believe wholeheartedly.
Yes, I wholeheartedly. And after we talked last week and did that did not get aired.
Yes.
Lily. Then he went out and I think showed some people in the blue-white scrimmage. Again, it's a blue-white scrimmage. But the first play from scrimmage in that game, they scored on an 80-yard touchdown where he threw a bomb. And I immediately had people texting me, have you seen the arm on this kid? Yes, I have. The kid is special.
He threw when I was there for the Barnstorm, he threw a off-the-back hop 40 yards into a window that no kid his age has any business to do that with. So I believe you there. All right, you talked about Friday night, week 0, which means nothing, but it could mean everything. So I'm going to ask you, are the Hannibal Pirates as good as the hype, as bad as they looked Friday night, or somewhere in the middle?
Somewhere in the middle, leaning more toward as good as the hype.
Okay.
I don't think they're there yet.
Okay.
And I think what happened was they got kicked in the teeth in the Jamboree and went, uh-oh, wait a minute.
Is that a good thing?
That's a very good thing. And the reason I say that is, in talking with Jeff Gishwinder this week, Saturday morning, the players were there before the coaches arrived, having a players meeting to talk about how things did not go their way. And I think that ownership that the kids take, and we've seen it in other programs.
Right.
But when kids take the ownership and see that they didn't play to their own expectations, let alone a coach's expectations, and want to address it immediately, you got something. You got guys that are going to want to make amends for that. They're going to want to work to get better at that. And that comes from those seniors and that leadership and those guys who have been in the trenches before. And not just the seniors, you got a bunch of juniors there. You got a lot of kids who were on the sideline or on the field at different times last year when they went to the state title game. They want to do that again. And the way they played in the Jamboree isn't good enough to play for a state title. I think we're going to see more improvement Friday night.
Well, first of all, Bowling Green, take nothing away from Bowling Green.
And there's
Bowling
that
Green
as well.
Is legitimate. I think the back end of that were Clark County, who is greatly improved, by the way. That story I've been telling you for months about them making the move, it's there for them to make it. But yeah, they were not impressive at all. And part of it is putting the ball on the carpet 3 times against Bowling Green and letting Devin Rue get upfield on you and disrupt everything in the backfield. So,
and the one thing in talking with Coach Gishwinder, and I think in the way the players have addressed it as well, is they can't fall into the trap of, okay, we haven't played well. Give Aeneas the ball and it'll all be fine. Other guys have to make plays, and I think you got guys in position to make plays. A guy like Markel Humphrey, who I think is going to have a big year, both sides of the ball. He's really good defensively, but I think he's going to show offensively what he's capable of. They just simply can't get in the trap of Aeneas will save us.
You learn that pretty quick. Here's the other thing that I think factors into this, and you know Chris Henches pretty well. They took a 50-point spot last year against Hannibal.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody down there in Helias is happy about that, and I think they remember that. Is that motivation for the Crusaders coming in?
No question about it. This is a great rivalry. Yeah. This is a rivalry. If you look back over the years, this has been a fantastic game with some real head knockers, both regular season and postseason. And that's what people you don't want to forget that. These are 2 spirited programs, rich in tradition, that want to go head to head and beat the bejesus out of each other. And when you take a beating like Helias did, you're going to come back and want to repay that.
There are a lot of really good games in week one.
Yes.
There are some rivalries that may even, based on what they've produced over the years, exceed Quincy Notre Dame for the fact that these were actual playoff rivalries. And I'm talking, of course, about the only battle we have in Illinois of state-ranked teams, Camp Point Central heading to Carrollton, which, has been a loser-leave town playoff match more times than you and I care to remember.
True.
Do you believe in Brad Dixon's team? Are they good enough to be a top 10 team in the state this year?
Yes.
Okay.
I fully believe that. I fully believe that because what you got to remember is you had guys that got playoff experience last year or late season experience because of injuries.
Right.
It wasn't
young guys.
Young guys. You had a freshman stepping at linebacker in the playoffs. Now, granted, he's a sophomore now. He's got an older brother who's pretty good.
Yeah, he does.
And we're talking about
Elijah
Gennebacher.
Yes.
So, Isaac's a ton in the backfield, an honorable mention All-Stater. Elijah's going to be very good. But then you've got other guys. I think what you forget when you talk about Central, so much you talk about is speed, the ability to run the ball and all that. You forget how good they could be defensively up front because they got some size.
Yeah, well, they start with Cole Proctor,
exactly.
who sets that
question.
That middle for them and makes everything flow around.
And he's going to eat up space. He's going to fill gaps. He's going to tear up that front line and then let those linebackers flow.
So we only had one team state ranked in Illinois. Quincy Notre Dame, Brown County, Macomb. Which of those teams do you think has the best chance beyond, obviously Camp Point Central of cracking the cracking the rankings? Easy for me to say earliest.
Macomb.
Okay.
I really like the pieces they have in place. Now, granted, I'm familiar with Macomb because of my relationships with the people there.
Right.
But this is the first year Muddy River Sports will have actually covered Macomb. And so I've had the opportunity to go to practice. I've had the opportunity to talk to Coach Harrell. I've had the opportunity to talk to some players, Jack Duncan, JT Jeter. They've got some real pieces there. And a healthy Max Reiner makes a huge difference. Ethan Ladd is a stud.
Did you see the picture of him from freshman year to
Yes.
now?
How about that?
That's pretty fun. That's why you get into the weight room, kids.
Yeah,
because
no doubt.
You can go from being the ninth grader who doesn't look comfortable without your shirt on to looking like an absolute killer in 4 years' time.
And he's going to kill some people. He's just going to blow people up this year. Yeah.
I think I agree with you on Macomb. I think there is some traction from a Jacksonville route maybe as well, who I think might be for real with
13 seniors?
13 seniors and 4 wide receivers who are 6'4" or better, and a returning quarterback in Cohen Hoots. So that's one of the other ones I'm going to watch. We talked about week 0 meaning nothing and meaning everything from time to time. I don't think anybody was more impressive at that jamboree than Mark Twain. When Mark Twain goes to Monroe City, obviously coming off a 52-0 loss in the district title game last year, does Mark Twain have a chance this year?
They have a chance. I'll be anxious to see how they stack up with Monroe City week 1. But I think they've got the pieces in place and a little bit of chip on their shoulder to prove themselves. Granted, they had a 10-2 last year?
Yes.
So a great run. But I don't know, and we can talk a lot about different guys in this area when it comes to speed.
Yeah.
And obviously Monroe City has some of those guys.
They do.
Mark Twain has some of those guys.
They do.
Lakota Preston, for example.
Exactly.
I mean, the fact that he's going to have more touches on the offensive side this year, I think is going to be a big deal for them. And you start thinking about it. Up front, they're pretty good, especially on defense.
Yeah.
Coleman Epperson.
Oh, my.
I mean, just gets after it. Clayton Turnbull is a very good, offensive and defensive lineman. So I think the pieces are in place. It's going to be interesting. How does week 1 playing Monroe City turn into districts? You're going to get a blueprint for what you need to do to beat Monroe City week 1. Now, then the next 9-10 weeks, are you going to be able to make the adjustments if you lose? If you win, then you even got a better blueprint for how to beat Monroe City, and you keep building on it. So I think this is a great week, a great opportunity for Mark Twain.
David Kirby has redone everything in his offense, essentially. We saw last week it still works pretty well. Not a surprise.
Yeah, no.
Is Monroe City, to your mind, is it Macon? Is it Centralia? Is it somebody else on the board? Do you have a Clarence Cannon Conference favorite coming in?
I don't know if I do because I know Clark County's better.
Clark County is better.
Centralia is going to be good.
South Shelby's a monster.
South Shelby. I mean, we talk so much about different players in our area. We tend to forget Trey Countryman just from the fact that South Shelby is just they're so far away from where you and I are located. Right. So it's easy to kind of forget when we're talking, our bubble. And then it's like, oh, wait, don't forget about Trey Countryman. Right. And the fact that Adam Gunderman's a heck of a coach.
He is.
He's done some really nice things already at South Shelby, and it's just going to continue to get better. So they're going to maybe play a factor in there. I don't know if they can win the CCC, but they're going to be a factor. I still think you hang your hat right now as the favorite on Monroe City when you got a Pennywell.
Yeah,
you got a DeGrave.
Yeah.
I mean, you can sit down and go down the list of what they got. They got like 17 Landons. They've got
the marking corner on Landons.
I mean, I'm sitting there talking to Coach Kirby, and he's just rattling off names. Like every kid is named Landon. I'm like, how is this possible?
All right, I got to ask you this question because I'm wanting to pick your mind about this.
Yeah.
There are some really hard opponents week one. Some we've already touched on.
Yes.
Some like Pittsfield getting number 2 Athens.
Yeah, how about that?
I mean, that's a tough.
You get a home opener on a Thursday night, and you get the number 2 ranked team in the state.
Palmyra going to Hallsville. Who has the hardest opening night game to your mind, Matt Schuckman?
Ooh, on paper, I think it might be Pittsfield, just because they're playing the number 2 ranked team in the state. Now, again, those are preseason rankings. Nobody's seen anybody on the field. How will that adjust? But we know Athens is going to be good. So we know they've got a really tough one. I think Hannibal's got its hands full.
I think you're right.
I mean, I think between the Hannibal-Helias game and the Quincy High-Quincy Notre Dame game, I think we're going to have 2 barn burners there.
Okay.
And then I don't think, you brought up Central Carrollton, and we know how much of a bloodbath that can be time and time again. Carrollton graduated so many names that we recognize.
Do that every time,
I know.
though, and we keep waiting for it to fall off, and it never does.
But think about the names, the Grant Pullmans, the Coonrod, Sam Coonrod,
the Cody Leonards.
It was Kyle last year.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so you got so many of those names that aren't there now. And Nick Flowers isn't there as head coach.
Which I think is, culture means culture.
Yeah.
Now, does it persevere? I guess we're going to find out.
I got a feeling it will. It's Carrollton. Their football program has a culture. I think it's going to be okay. But it is going to be different when somebody else has the headset on and is making calls.
What's your favorite ascendant culture in tri-state football, Matt? Is there somebody I know we've talked about Pittsfield and kind of the nice changes that Zach has made.
I think he's done a great job there.
Yeah. We've talked about Macomb and where this thing was before Tanner got there and where it kind of is headed now.
Little Skitch is getting it done.
Yeah, he is. He's doing a very nice job. I mean, is there, and we talked about, I don't know if you can say that about Clark County because they had one bad year.
Right, yeah. I mean, Ethan Allen's done such a great job historically there as a player, as a coach. They had a bad year last year. Kind of like Palmyra. Palmyra was 4-6 last year. Right. I don't expect that. And if you look historically, those things don't transcend.
They don't.
So who's the program
that you think has just made the best move or will make the best move over the course of this year?
Honestly, outside of Pittsfield, and we've talked about them, they're in such a tough conference. I don't know if they can get to that 5-win mark and get to the playoffs because of the conference they're in. I mean, think about it. Athens, Williamsville, Maroa, Forsyth. I mean, you go up and down the line. The one I'm anxious to see, and it's just outside of the Muddy River coverage area, but I know them well enough, is South Shelby.
Okay.
And I think because they're a Class 1 school, because they're a small community, they have some ups and downs.
Sure.
But I think Adam Gunderman's got them on an uptrend that I think they're a team that when it comes playoff time, watch out. When you got a kid like Trey Countryman to guide your offense and to be your ringleader, you build on that. And we've seen some really good South Shelby teams over the years, teams that played for state titles, teams that produced great running backs. But I think this is a team that's gone through a lull and is ready to rise.
Well, and I've been beating the drum for Macomb's receivers all along.
Yes.
And I'd be remiss not to mention P.J. Schmidt and Cameron Wiseman, who have been absolutely phenomenal in their own right. So,
and P.J. Schmidt, a baseball player, pretty darn good baseball player, is going to go play in college.
We got a couple of those baseball guys who have had really nice football camps.
That guy that's the quarterback at Macomb
throws it kind of hard.
Yeah,
Jack Duncan can play a little bit. All right, Matt Schuckman, let's break away from football just a little bit because we've now had a little bit of canvas for the other fall sports that I know we've had Quincy Notre Dame girls volleyball, which you got to see for the first time last night. Quincy High QD girls golf has both been pretty darn good out of the gate, as has Macomb, despite graduating Lily Vardaman, which is a huge thing. There's some nice trends working. What's kind of struck you so far in the early season? And I guess I'm not doing my job if I don't ask you about the early struggles for QD soccer out of the gate that first night.
Okay, I think everybody's going to look at that and go, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, Peoria Notre Dame is that good.
They are.
But I think Quincy Notre Dame, because of some position adjustments that they made in the offseason, and some young kids finding their way, was going to have a few growing pains.
So you're saying this is a timeline thing?
Oh, I think they're just going to get better and better and better and better. I still think I'm going to stand by my prediction that I made on a podcast that I think they can win a state title.
Okay.
I'm going to stand by that. I've seen those kids play now for their entire careers.
Sure.
I think they're going to be really good when all is said and done. Sometimes you need to get knocked down to get back up. And I think that's the case. And they came back the next night, scored 5 goals in the first half against Beardstown. I get it, it's against Beardstown.
Well, but here's the thing. I don't think people realize how good a keeper Eric Brown is and how good Beardstown has gotten the last couple of years under Adam Hamilton. That's not a bad program
No, it's not. I mean, what was it? Was it 3 years ago? Yeah. It was a 2-1 game against QND in the regional final.
And that was after Domitian graduated, who'd scored, 70 goals in his career. So, I mean, they've had some dudes.
I'm anxious to see. I've heard good things about Quincy High Volleyball. I've not been out there yet to see that they're on the right track. Obviously, there's a chance we'll see them this weekend with the Early Bird Invitational. Sure. Obviously, Quincy Notre Dame is really good. A couple of the pieces that jumped out at me is I think Quincy Notre Dame boys golf is better than expected because their young kids are pretty good. Connor Craven's been really good so far.
Out of the gate.
Bo Eftink is solid. And I think as those guys get a little more confidence and get feeling like they belong, as freshmen, it's tough to go out there and go, okay, I'm playing number 1 as a freshman.
You're right. That's a big spot.
And the fact that, and you mentioned the girls golfers. I think the fact that Quincy High is doing so well, having lost what it did from last year, and I know you had it in your piece about losing Lacey Novosel and Paige Kane, and then the depth of the Q&D girls golf team. I think that's
impressive.
Because a few years ago they didn't even have a program.
Yeah.
The girls had to play with the guys, 1 or 2 of them that played.
Right.
Now they have a full program with some depth. That's pretty impressive.
Well, and they've got a freshman in their 6th spot, and Belle Boudreau, who's going to be the next. Yeah, Hanukkah Nuffman or better, moving forward.
She's from a golf family.
Right. It's starting to sync up.
The one thing we haven't touched on, and we will because it hasn't started yet, is softball on the Missouri side.
Okay.
Haven't had a chance to see anybody. They're just now having some jamborees. They're just now getting started. So we'll see. I think when you look at, okay, what do we need to go see over there? I think Canton jumps out at me right off the top.
Who opens, Saturday against Mark Twain, I believe.
So.
And then the biggie for us is always the Monroe City tournament because that's where you get to see everybody like competition. It's really hard this weekend down at Troy because a lot of our teams are being outclassed by Class 4
because they're bringing teams up from the St. Louis area, the Troy and Wentzville area.
So that'll be a work in progress.
True. But I think, and then the volleyball scene, I'm anxious to see what happens. I was impressed with Unity when I saw them. I think they're going to be they're the team in this area that can go head-to-head with Southeastern. You start thinking of who could get out of here. I don't know if we have the depth of teams on the volleyball side to challenge those two.
Right.
It'll be interesting.
Brown County might be that floating team that has a chance, I think, there. And then obviously from my end, it was nice to see Melissa Friesmeyer and Holy Trinity, number 1 in the state, coming back. So Q&D, Holy Trinity, Unity, Southeastern. The top end
should be good.
Macomb is going to be super good.
Yeah, so I think across the board, we're going to have a lot of fun stories to write. And I know we started a thing this week, and you saw the Prairie State Profile on the Show Me Spotlight, which we were able to highlight Summer Ramsey, Southeastern volleyball player, National Honor Society student, and all the other things she's involved in.
That was good, but you had a piece later in the week that I enjoyed the heck out of.
So our Show Me Spotlight was on Claire Williams from Palmyra, who spent part of her summer playing with the Missouri Phenom AAU program. And showing goats at the fairs. It caught me by surprise that a high school girl who's so into athletics and stuff that goes and shows. So I went and talked to her about it. And it was great. Her goat's named Luigi.
That is awesome.
And they have a lamb named Mario.
That is awesome.
Now, one thing I didn't put in there is I did ask. I said, so do you have a little contraption that you can use as a cart to pull them around in? and it'd be Mario Kart. And
Nice.
Claire giggled and went, no.
But by the way,
Yeah.
I think those two wings at Palmyra, Claire and Sydney Compton, have
Yeah.
a chance to be at least high Division II players by the time it's said
I
and
think
done.
so too. I think there's a lot of talent there with that Palmyra girls basketball team that we'll get to this winter. But it was fun to talk goat showing because
I open up Muddy River and there's a picture of Claire with the goats.
there you go.
That's not what I expected. This is why this man is so valuable.
You got to find fun stories.
Awesome job, Matt Shuckman. Thanks for joining me.
Always.
I know that next week I'm at your place.
Yep.
And then we'll kind of break down what we saw and spin forward into week 2, which schedule-wise, not as sexy, but at least we'll know some things.
True. And you know what? If you want me back here next week, I'm here. Whatever you need, my man.
You are a good volunteer. Matt Shuckman, everybody. This is the Duerrisms podcast presented again, thankfully, by our great friends at Advanced Physical Therapy, without whom you and I would not be able to do so much of this
great
good stuff.
people.
Thank you to all of those folks, Jason and everybody over there
right.
for making that happen. And we're all out of time. We'll see you right back here a week from now on the podcast. See you guys.